Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and all 16 episodes of Ninjago Season 13 Master of the Mountain are now officially out. They're not officially out in most places, but you can find them if you look for them. So if you're curious about seeing the season and you haven't yet, look around, you can find them. But all 16 episodes of Season 13 are now out. I have watched them all. Originally, I was doing reaction videos, but the more I thought, I felt weird about doing it in the first place. I never planned to do reaction videos, but a lot of people in my comments were like, hey, you should do reactions to the new episodes. And I had done reactions to the trailers, so I was like, I guess I can give it a try because some people mention, like, oh, you're not allowed to do them. But no, technically, as long as you're actually providing commentary and not just sitting there saying nothing while the video plays, as long as you add commentary, it's considered fair use and it is illegal. But even still, LEGO has every right to copyright strike those down. And I really don't want to copyright strike on my channel for a video to get 3,000 views. So I took down the reactions I did do, and I didn't do any for the rest of the season, which was probably better because the season all ended up releasing in a week, so that would be 16 videos in a week, and that's a lot for me to produce. So no reaction videos, unfortunately. I'll continue to do reactions to like trailers and things and whatever LEGO news comes out, but no more episode reactions. But anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. Point is, the season has aired, and now I have seen it all, and I just want to give my general thoughts on it and have a discussion as to what I thought. I'll start off non-spoilery, but we'll get into spoilers pretty soon in, so I'll let you know when spoilers happen. So if you have not seen the season yet, you can click off at that point. But for now, we're going to talk non-spoilers. So overall, I think this is my favorite of the 3 reboot seasons. Why did I do... Oh, it's 3. Of the 3 reboot seasons. Being Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu, Prime Empire, and now Master of the Mountain. I think this is definitely I think it has increasing quality with each one, right? Season 11, then Season 12, then Season 13. It's not, like, the most incredible season I've ever seen, and I still might prefer Prime Empire? I'm not sure. I think this is definitely a more cohesive season. It definitely feels a lot like classic Ninjago, if that makes any sense. Like, it's a self-contained story that looks like it's going to tie into events in the future and called back to events in the past. It focused on one ninja, and it helped develop a character, and it created a lot of really interesting events throughout the story, and I thoroughly enjoyed this season. It had its faults, just like Season 11 Season 12 did, and just like every other season has had. But, like, Season 11 Season 12 had a lot of faults that were like, okay, this is the new animation studio, so I guess things are going to be like this from now on. And I just have to excuse it. But I didn't really see that much with this season. Like, with both 11 and 12, more specifically 11, there was a lot of parts where I felt like it was too childish. It felt too like, unlike Ninjago. Like, the characters weren't acting like themselves. But this felt very classic Ninjago. Like, obviously, Lloyd's and Cole's voices are still way too high. Like, that's not the same, but I'm not going to be like, ooh, the season's bad because Cole's voice is too high. Like, I don't like it. I would prefer if he went back to the voice he used for 10 seasons, but it's not a big deal. Same with Lloyd. But all the characters very much seem to be in character, right? They're all doing things that, like, I could imagine them doing. Nia's very proud he didn't want to be challenged, but I think the way she did it in Season 13 was, like, in a less annoying way. Because she was like that in Season 11, but in Season 11 it was like, why are you acting like this? This is not you. But it felt more like Season 5 Nia, right? Because that was her whole thing. Her fear of failure was what she had to overcome to become the water ninja. And I felt like you really saw that in this season. Jay was his goofy self, but he was goofy in a Jay way, and he wasn't goofy in it felt like and especially in Season 11, he was just like the punching bag of all the jokes. It was, haha, Jay is bad at doing things. Like, he very much felt like himself. Zane was great in this season. He wasn't a ton in it, but Zane very much felt like himself. Like, Zane's been a big one where he's felt very different the past few seasons, where he's sort of like a snarky teen now instead of being himself, which is like the wise one who gets a little confused at times as to what, like, modern things are, but he's still, like, very intelligent, and he's like the straightforward one. But, like, in Prime Empire, he was talking about how he prefers classic video games, and then there was the whole detective episode, which I thought the detective episode was fun, but it wasn't really Zane. But this season, Zane felt very much like himself, and I love that. Cole was Cole. He got further development, which I'll talk about later on, but he was excellent. Kai was himself too, like, confused by a strange new world and very hot-headed and proud of himself too. Both Nia and Kai are very proud people. And yeah, is that all the characters? Yeah, that's all the ninja. I thoroughly enjoyed how all the ninja were portrayed. The Skull Sorcerer, while he's not my favorite villain of all time, he served his role. I think the interesting parts of the season were not the Skull Sorcerer. Like the villain, he was more a plot device than an interesting character, right? Like someone like Harumi or Garmadon, the plot centers around the fact that they are the antagonists. But I feel like in this season, the Skull Sorcerer was the antagonist to serve a purpose of telling a different story, right? There was the story of fighting the Skull Sorcerer, but that was not the focus. That was not the most interesting part. But it's hard to describe this without going into spoilers. So let's just say right now, spoiler territory. If you don't want to hear spoilers, click on this video now. But I would recommend you watch the season because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's probably one of the best seasons of the. It's definitely one of the best seasons of the reboot, and probably one of the best seasons of all time. So please check out Master of the Mountain. It's very, very good. Okay, so now what I'm talking about with the Skull Sorcerer. I think the war between the Geckos and the Munts was way more interesting than the Skull Sorcerer himself, right? Because his entire character to me just felt like, I'm bad to... Like, and I know his motivation was he was mining the Venge Stone to sell so that he could have money to make Shintaro all big and beautiful. And that's fine. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad motivation. It's just not the most interesting, right? Like, Garmadon has the whole conflict of... being like born to be evil, but then he loves his family and he loves his son, and then his son is his main antagonist, right? And then like Harumi had she was vengeful because her parents were killed by the Great Devourer, and she blamed Lloyd for unleashing the Serpentine, who eventually unleashed the Great Devourer. And the ninja who led the Great Devourer to Ninjago City and were unable to defeat it, and Garmadon had to be the one to defeat it. So like those are villains who very much like make the story interesting by their backstories, by their motivation. I don't think the Skull Sorcerer was like that. I think he was just sort of he was the driving force for more interesting things. The Geckos and the Munch were super interesting, super fun. They were just a ton of fun seeing the personality in the two tribes and how different they were. And then Cole's entire journey was so good. Just him going through the journey, learning more about his elemental powers, learning more about his mother, becoming closer with Wu and Vanya. And the Upply or the Lowly or whatever you want to call them, they were fantastic characters. They were so fun. I remember when we saw the character designs in the trailer, my first guess was that they were like parodies of typical Dungeons and Dragons classes, and while I think that's what they are, like after season, that's pretty much what they are. Like literally, the rogue, right? What's his name? Plundar, was that his name? Had dice that he would always roll to determine his decisions, which was funny. But I saw them like, okay, these are going to be weird comic relief characters. What's the point? And while they definitely were meant to be funny, right? Like you had Korgran, yeah. Korgran was just like big and strong and silly, and like Fungus obviously was just really silly and he used magic. And then Plundar was a little more grounded of a character. He wasn't like as ridiculous, but then he would do the whole dice rolling thing, which was obviously very over the top and ridiculous. But I felt like they had their... And then there was the giant spider, Adam. Can't forget about Adam, of course. But I feel like they really fit in the story. Like, they didn't feel too goofy, right? I felt like... I don't know. I think they were done super well in that they were comic relief, but they were also, like, deeper, more important characters that served a purpose. And, like, their struggle felt like a real thing. And even with their goofiness, they still felt like real people. And I think that's excellent to see. Also, I love that Korgran is from Metalonia. Like, never did I think 5 years after Tournament of Elements we're going to get more Metalonia lore, but that's cool that they're expanding on, like, different areas of the land of Ninjago, right? They visited Shintaro, which is obviously an area they've never visited before, and then they revisited the idea of Metalonia, so it could be cool in the future to maybe see a season take place there, since obviously it's not just like a one-off line that Karloff said that's like, yes, this is a place that exists, and then we never see it. Like, there's a chance we may see Metalonia in the future, and I think that would be really, really cool. I know I talked earlier about how I felt the ninja were more themselves this season, and Wu was weird. He was better than he was in season 11, and yeah, so he wasn't even in season 12 like at all, but in season 11 he felt like in the first few episodes he was not himself at all, but then towards the end he felt more like Wu. And this season he was iffy, like the scene where Misako is like yelling at him like, you need to get off your butt and go to Shintaro, like that felt weird. It just didn't feel like Wu. And I like the idea of Wu like struggling with the idea of hey, it's been 10 years. I don't think the ninja really need a master anymore. And I think that's an interesting concept to tackle, and I think they started it well, But then it got really weird. Like, why would they do that? But then I think they fixed it, and Vanya talking to Will about, like, hey, Cole needs you right now. Like, just because you're not teaching them every single day doesn't mean you can't still provide guidance. And I think that was powerful, and it was nice to see Wu and Cole work together like that. Speaking of Misako, what? Like, I remember when season 11 aired, I was like, where is she? Because, like, I know Ninjago has, like, these in and out characters all the time, and that's fine. Like, obviously, I'd prefer if the Elemental Master stuck around longer, but it's what Ninjago has always done. But the weird thing about Misako is she has been one of the very few staples of the series. Like, she's been in every season since she was introduced into the show. But then in season 11, she just wasn't there, and there was no explanation as to why she wasn't there. Like, in Sons of Garmadon, she wasn't there, but they actually explained, like, oh, she's out looking for Wu, because Wu disappeared. And I was like, okay, weird, but okay. And then she popped up by the end of the season. I was like, okay, cool. That's fine with me. Like, I don't love Misako. She's not my favorite character. I know she's a lot of people's least favorite characters, and I don't blame you. She's not great, but I wish they would have at least provided an explanation as to where she went in season 11. But then she comes back this season, and I was like, oh, good, we're going to get to know where she was. And she just walks in and goes, hello, Lloyd. And we're never told where she was, and then she wasn't there for the rest of the season, which makes sense for her to not be there for the rest of the season. Like, she only needed to be in episode 1. But, like, why leave her out to bring her back like that, and then not explain where she was? Like, if Lloyd went, Mom, you're back, and she's like, yeah, I was out searching for Garmadon, but I had no, obviously, better words than I'm speaking. I'm talking off the cuff here. But just give some explanation as to where she was, because it's so weird to reintroduce her. And if they really are trying to make this like a reboot, right, for a new audience and trying to introduce new people into Ninjago, not explaining who this character is or where she comes from is just odd. Like, why did she randomly walk into the monastery? Why did Lloyd call her mom, right? Like, it's just odd to me. I wish they did more with her. I wish they just explained what happened with her. But I'm happy to see she's back. Like, I honestly don't care if they write her out of the show, but write her out of the show. Do a Dr. Julian where Cyrus Boyd just mentions, Lloyd, I'm sorry your mother died. Like, that's what they do with Dr. Julian. He's gone, and now we don't have a minifigure for him. But like, if they want to kill her off, go ahead. If they want to say she left, go ahead. Just tell us that. Like, why is she in and out and no explanation? It's just weird to me. But that's enough from Misako rant. Let's go to my other points about the season. Vanya. I liked Vanya's character a lot. She was a lot different than I was expecting based on her minifigure. Her minifigure made her look like kind of old and pretty sinister, but she's just like this like lively teenage girl, right? Or I guess young adult. And she's just a ton of fun. I really liked her character. I think her and Cole are a nice balance to each other, because Cole is more like grounded and serious, and he'll crack jokes and everything, but he's a lot. They contradict each other a lot, but in a good way. And while they kind of showed that, like, hey, they might have feelings for each other, but I like that they didn't do a romantic subplot, because it's been a big complaint in Ninjago that, like, hey, anytime a female character is introduced, she's always a love interest. And, like, there was implied things in the season, but nothing actually happened between the two of them. So I like leaving that option open for the future, and I think those two would work well together, but I like that they didn't have to shove that into the season. They just became friends who worked together, and then they parted ways, and it was good. I think she was a ton of fun. I think it was really funny how she would just pull torches out of nowhere. And where did you get those, Vanya? And yeah, and then her whole dynamic with the Skull Sorcerer, because obviously Skull Sorcerer was her father, King Vangelis. Yeah. The fact that King Vangelis was her father was interesting. I feel like that's not like, well, they didn't explore that too much. Like, she had some odd moments where she was like, I'm gonna have to fight my father. That's weird. But they didn't explore too much, which I think is fine, because obviously I feel like that's a little repetitive as to, like, Lloyd and Garmadon, right? And even Skylar and Chen. Skylar was more aware of her father's whereabouts, but obviously this has been done before in Ninjago. I don't think that's a bad thing, necessarily. Like, I think Vangelis' Skull Sorcerer was fine. It was a fine reveal. Like, whatever. It's not, like, shocking, but, like, there it is a reason they revealed it in episode 7 and not episode 15. Like, it wasn't supposed to be a big reveal. It was just supposed to be, like, yeah, this is the Skull Sorcerer. This is the villain for the season. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. They could have expended on it more, but I think it is fine how they did it. Vangelis also mentions at one point that he's buying this, or he's mining this Venge Stone to sell to a buyer, and Tommy Andreasen has said on Twitter that this buyer is a big spoiler. And I have some theories as to who the buyer may be. I will probably make a theory video within the next week as to who it is. But I've got some ideas brewing in here, and if I'm correct, it could be very, very cool. But stay tuned for that. A couple little things. I liked how the ninjas' armor, their color corresponded with which tribe made it, right? The Geckles made the gold armor, and the Munts made the silver armor. And I assume Cole's armor was made by a Geckle way back in the day when his mother was down there because he just found the armor in the mech. Speaking of the mech, the mech feels very forced in there. Like, obviously, it's called the Firestone mech and comes with Kai in the set, but in the show, Cole uses it for one episode, and it's just a stone mech, and then it happens to be drenched in lava, creating this like fire appearance as they walk out of it. And I think that was just because, I guess maybe Cole vehicles don't sell too well, but Kai vehicles do. So I get it. They're trying to sell a toy, right? And to me, that's just like, hey, okay. I would rather them do that than like try to force Kai into that scene, right? If their vision for the show is Kai is not there, then make it inaccurate to the toy as long as like you're telling the story you want to tell. And I think it was fine. I just found it funny. The Blades of Deliverance were weird. That's another one where I feel like it was just sort of made to put in the sets. I like the motivation with like the two tribes thinking the one blade was stolen from the other, and that's why they were at odds. And I love the stuff between the two tribes. That was excellent. But the blades just, they felt sort of forced in at the end. Like, I wish we saw them a little earlier in the season. It was just odd how it was episode 15, right, where they make their first appearance, and obviously there's only 16 episodes in the season. So it was just odd because like they're the main collectible in the set. So to me, again, that feels like, hey, we need to have a collectible in the sets. We need these two blades in there. So I don't know. I wish maybe Cole had found them earlier, right, or found. I don't know. Like, if they had stolen them back from the Skull Swords earlier and they were used more. I know the whole point was the blades didn't do anything. They were literally just blades and then they shattered. But, yeah, I wish there was more done with them. Speaking of Cole's mother, I guess I haven't mentioned Lily yet. She, all the stuff about her was awesome. It was cool seeing a lot of, like, backstory lore as to the world of Ninjago. That scene with young Cole and her in the hospital bed was really, really powerful. That's an excellent scene and one of the best Ninjago scenes ever. I think that's right up there with the Harumi flashback scene. Whenever Ninjago does flashback scenes, they're always so excellent, and it was a great one. But yeah, I loved learning more about Lily. I think it was really cool how like it sort of established that like, hey, this kind of stuff is known to the ninja. It's just not known to the viewer, right? Because like Kai knew who Lily was, and he knew he knew Cole's mother's name, so obviously they had discussed it privately before, and it wasn't like the Geckles mentioned Lily. Kai opens up a thing and goes, "Huh, I wonder what Cole's mother's name is. I have never heard that before. Cole doesn't talk about her." Like I like it. It was small, but I like that it develops that like, hey, the ninja have this close friendship, and they know about each other's personal lives and backstories, and I don't know, I found that cute, and that like the ninja know more about each other than we know about them. And that's I don't know, maybe that's nothing, but that's cool to me. I really liked the Earth Temple too, where they found the Firestone mech and how they said like that was the source of Cole's elemental power, and that's how he unlocked the Spinjitzu burst and everything. I'd be very curious to see if there's other like temples like that for the other elements that we're gonna explore in the future, because if so, like that would be really cool to see. I guess kind of we've already seen two, right? Would the Temple of Light be for golden power, and then the Oni Temple be for destruction, Garmadon's power, maybe? And like the Earth Temple is the same exact thing. I know people are like, oh, it's gonna be a Nia or Zane season next. I think it's almost definitely a Nia season because Zane had the ice chapter. I know Zane wasn't the hero of the ice chapter, but like I don't think they would do another ice season before they do a water season or a green season, which I know everyone wants another Lloyd season, but my guess is Nia and Lloyd next year are the next two focuses. So I think it'd be really cool if they explored underwater and found like the water temple that's like the source of Nia's power underwater. And if Spinjitzu Burst is like a thing now that like all the ninja can do, right, and they just have to discover it, maybe we'll get more Spinjitzu Burst spinners of Nia, Zane and Jay, but I think that's kind of unlikely, but I guess we'll see. Oh, and Vanya's dragon, Chompy. That's the last thing on my notes I want to mention. He was cute. I like how Wu's dragon was actually Vanya's, though it makes me wish Vanya came in that dragon set, because I can't complain. That set's already so excellent. It's such a great prize. Like, if Vanya came in that, that'd be overboard, but it would have been nice if she came in that set. But yeah, Chompy was funny. I enjoyed Chompy. But yeah, this video, I've been filming for 24 minutes. I don't know what this is going to edit down to, but I've been talking for a while. A lot longer than I thought. These were just supposed to be initial thoughts. I thought it'd be like 5 minutes long, but no, it's 25 minutes long. So I think I'm going to call it here. As I said, I'll have a theory video out in a couple of days. Obviously I've got a lot of videos to do. I haven't done a review in a little while, so I think a review is going to be either tomorrow or the day after. I also have the Woo Crew podcast coming out at some point that was supposed to be today, but we didn't get the chance to film, so that'll probably be tomorrow, but it may be Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how things work out. But yeah, stay tuned to my channel. On the Woo Crew podcast, by the way, we're going to be reviewing the season as well. I'll be discussing similar things to what I discussed here, but I'll be talking about it with Matthew, and he'll have different points of views as well. So it'll just be more of a discussion instead of just me talking into a camera like this. So yeah, stay tuned for that when that comes out. Stay tuned for my theory video when it comes out, and stay tuned for my reviews and all sorts of other stuff. Also, room tour coming soon. I've been cleaning up in here because I have not organized this in literally 6 years. It's not like a huge thing. I just sort of used to throw things on shelves, and now if I'm doing a room tour, I have to make it look nice. So it'll be a little bit, maybe at like 7,000 subscribers or something, but room tour is also coming. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please press like and subscribe if you're new. I do LEGO videos and Ninjago videos like this every single day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. And I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you in the next one.